Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome into Fantasy Filmball, the show where we turn movies into sports and sports into something we don't talk about here. My name is Matt.
My name is Dyl, and today I think we have something really fun to talk about because the Oscars decided, let's stop cutting awards. Let's add a new one in, so we have a brand new award come to the ceremony in 2 years, Best Casting. And I feel like a lot is going to go into this award because this is one where we may not have as many precursors. Who knows, maybe like CCA, Globe, some other places may add this award to follow in the Oscars limelight, but at the moment we don't have many precursors. But before we dive into everything today, if you're new here, consider dropping a like, a subscription. We have new stuff coming each and every week. But yeah, let's dive into this. I guess first thing first, what are your thoughts about adding a whole new category?
I love the idea of adding an entirely new category. It's exciting, it's fresh, it keeps things new, and it honors more people who haven't had a chance to win an Oscar before. I'm all for it. I would love to see many new categories added. Stunts, choreography, I think are very much worthy of Academy Awards categories as well. I think this is a great start. That said, I'm iffy on Best Casting. We'll talk about that in a little bit. I'm not sure how I feel about this award in specific because I think it's really hard to define. But what do you think about them adding this new award?
I think it's cool. To echo what you said, I'm all for new awards being added, more people receiving recognition, and casting I think is something that is very overlooked. You just think about, oh yeah, we have Joaquin Phoenix in this movie. Of course, he's a great actor. He's going to have a great role, but sometimes he may not be the right fit for a specific role. Other times, he's just something that you don't even think about, and when you put him in the role, like Joker, he just knocks it out of the park. So I think it's a very underseen or just underappreciated craft that goes into making film. But I do think, kind of like when we talked about stunts and choreography back when the John Wick came out, and there's this giant rave to have this become a new award, it's a very broad term. What exactly is best choreography? What exactly is best casting? Is it for one specific actor? Is it for the whole film? Is it for discovering people? What is actually going into it for the nomination? And I think that's the fun thing that we're going to talk about here today, is because there isn't many precursors like I mentioned before. There's BAFTA, and there is a specific guild called the Artios that is currently in its 39th year. So that could be our best line into what this guild, what this new award will look like. However, it's kind of like the visual effects, the cost and production designer, where if you're a film competing, you're going to be nominated just because there's so many categories. Just to run through things really quickly, there's feature big budget for comedy and drama, feature studio and independent for comedy and drama, feature low budget for comedy and drama, feature animation, and then the Zeitgeist Award for like big populist film. There's so many categories here where if you don't get a nomination, I think that will be a sign for a precursor like, hey, this film's completely dead in the water. Looking here of just major films that didn't show up, I went about 5 years back just looking at different nominations each year in every category. This award show does not like international movies. Parasite was not here, Triangle of Sadness was not here, Anatomy of a Fall this year was not here, while Anatomy did get the BAFTA Best Casting. So I think it'll be very interesting going forward once the Oscars do implement this new category. Will they fall more in line with this guild? Will they be kind of like SAG Ensemble? Or will it be like the BAFTA Award for Best Casting? Personally, I think it will be a blend of all three, where maybe SAG goes 4 out of 5 some years, 3 out of 5 some years, BAFTA goes 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5, and this show where you kind of need to be here unless you're an international movie, because like All Quiet didn't show up at SAG, didn't show up at Artios, but did get the BAFTA nomination, where last year All Quiet peaked at the right time, so maybe it could have made it into our Oscar 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the BAFTA one I think will be the closest to the Oscars, because you have to keep in mind SAG Ensemble is voted on by actors, not by casting directors. So if we have an award that is by the casting directors, it's not going to look like SAG. It will very much look like BAFTA. And we've seen a trend with BAFTA, which is actually why I'm a little bit hesitant on the Oscars implementing this award, which is that they have kind of, since it's been an award, been giving it to films that really have one big performance as a standout. For example, last year they gave it to Elvis. In 2019, they gave it to Joker. And those are films where the casting hinges on one particular performance. And I guess the question I have is, how much of that is the casting director? And how much of it is just the director? I guess I'm going to go back to something you said earlier. Casting is an underappreciated art form, something that we don't know a whole lot about, and I really don't know much about it. And I'll just say, I guess, my preconceived notions of what casting is, and perhaps someone can, dispel what I think here, tell me what really is going on behind the scenes in the casting department. But my perception of the casting department is that a lot of casting work at very high levels ends up being done by the director. The casting director will bring a bunch of people forward, say, these are the people that we've seen their auditions, we think these would be the ones that are right for the role, and then the director will select which ones he thinks are the best. Where I think casting really shines is when they're finding unknowns, when they're looking at, when they're doing a wide net search to find the right person for a specific role. For example, in 2020, BAFTA gave their casting award to Rocks, which was a film about life on the margins in London. And that was a really inspired award because they had to find multiple kids to fit into this story, and they found some amazingly talented performers that may have never had a shot otherwise. Likewise, I think it's always a really interesting thing when you see a film that casts actors who have been a little bit out of the limelight and finds a perfect role for them. But yeah, I just don't know how this award's going to go over.
I mean, I definitely hear some of your concerns there, but just looking at the BAFTA nominees, I feel like they also have stuff that you're talking about here, because you mentioned looking for unknowns. Every year, I would say there's at least something there. How to Have Sex has a lot of people that weren't really known before.
Yeah, great nomination.
The year before, After Sun, casting child actors, and then 2021, you have stuff like West Side Story, Bowling Point, 2020. You have Rock
West Side
that won
Story
the
is a
award.
perfect example of what this should be.
And then 2019 maybe was a little bit more on the popular actor side, but every year it seems like there's a nice mix of child stuff. There's people who have maybe been out of the limelight for a little bit, as well as having some of those just one actor perfect for the roles, like the Jokers, like the Elvises, like the King Richards for Will Smith. I fully hear your concerns where I think there is a blurred line, but I guess to your point that you made a while before of how this is an award that casting directors are voting on, I would assume, at least for the nominations, they are in the know. They know how this stuff plays out. So maybe, hey, to us, it seems like Baz Luhrmann's the one who made it Austin Butler. But in the casting director, we're like, no, it was Nikki Barrett and Denise Chairman who were the ones who won the award last year at the BAFTA award. They're the ones who decided, like, hey, we want Austin Butler sort of thing. Like with hair and makeup, where it isn't always the best picture nominees. It's like, hey, we're going to actually propose some of the best hair and makeup of the year of movies that people just don't really like. Obviously with BAFTA that hasn't happened as much. Maybe there's one nominee a year that is kind of out of left field. How to Have Sex this year. Maybe you can make the case for After Sun last year. 2021 had Boiling Point and The Hand of God, so on and so forth. But BAFTA seems to really like young people as well as one specific actor and their award. Now, like I mentioned before, I went back about 5 years for the Artios Awards, and they are a little bit different. They kind of fall into where some of your issues are. They really do like the big names. They like these big ensembles filled with star-studded casts because they have some winners include both Knives Out films, Trial of Chicago 7, Don't Look Up, Banshees, the list goes on and on and on. But they are like BAFTA a little bit. They do really like kids. Jojo Rabbit won the award one year. Matilda won the award last year, and Fabelmans won the award last year as well. And they also are kind of like SAG, where they do like diversity. Minari's won, Everything Everywhere's won, West Side Story won out of Miami. So like I mentioned before, there's a lot of different categories here. You're going to have a lot of winners each year, but they aren't just picking, hey, what's the film with the biggest name actor in it year in and year out? Because like if we go to last year, you would think like, oh, Elvis, it's going to win. It lost to the Fabelmans. Oh, Glass Onion, it's going to win. It lost to Matilda. Oh, The Whale, it's going to win. It lost to Banshees. And then Everything Everywhere beat out The Way of Water, Batman, Scream, and Maverick, and the Zeitgeist Award, which is such a weird category. Wikipedia didn't give me much info about this award show. I want to know what quantifies for this category, because like this year, Oppenheimer is in big budget drama, Barbie's in Zeitgeist. Where's the difference there? Because Oppenheimer definitely made more money than The Flash, which is in the Zeitgeist Award for Best Casting. West Side Story also won here, beat out King Richard, beat out House of Gucci, Power of the Dog, Tick Tick Boom, and big budget drama. So there could be a sign like, hey, it wins the Artios, it wins the BAFTA, that's going to be our Oscar winner. Don't Look Up beat French Dispatch, In the Heights, Cruella. Coda won its award. It beat out Belfast. And No Way Home won the Zeitgeist Award. And then in 2021, the COVID year, Child of Chicago 7 won in drama, beat out Defy Bloods, Hillbilly Elegy, Judas, which had one of those big acting performances, and funny enough, Mulan made that category. Comedy was pretty empty that year. Borat 2 was the only movie of significance. It won the award. And then One Night in Miami beat out Ma Rainey, and Pieces of a Woman, and Promising Young Woman. So I guess sometimes they do go like, hey, big actors, but they really do stay away from this is one big acting performance, because like Promising Young Woman lost, Elvis lost, Judas and the Black Messiah lost, King Richard lost. There's these examples every year, Elvis too, where the big singular performance doesn't end up winning. Maybe it loses to like an all-star studded cast, but it's losing to more of an ensemble type where there's multiple roles to be casted than just the one, where like BAFTA has gone for that twice now.
I fully agree with what you said earlier, which is that I trust the casting directors will make interesting decisions in the nominations. I would expect that every year, 3 or 4 out of 5 of the nominations will be really cool noms. And then I think one of the 2 non-cool noms will win. It'll be like, oh, wow, that's a great ensemble, great pick. Wow, they really did amazing casting work. And then the winner will always end up being whoever is, winning an acting prize. That's just how I see it kind of shaking out. The casting branch, they're going to do cool shit. The rest of the Academy, if I don't know what casting is, I don't think they will either. They didn't know what sound mixing and sound editing were. So, I have a feeling that it's just going to be like, oh, I liked Joaquin Phoenix and Joker. There we go, Yeah. So that's a problem I see coming. But I am hoping to be proven wrong on this. I'm hoping that we get some really cool stuff. Now, I have a question for you. Do you think this is going to be a shortlisted category?
I do think it's going to be a shortlisted category, and that perfectly segues me into the next point I wanted to make is this could be like documentary feature, where they just block out the things that they know, hey, this is going to win. They could block out the Jokers. They could block out the Elvises. Like, hey, no, we're not even making these make the short list, because if they get nominated, they're winning 100%, like how documentary feature holds out stuff like Still, American Symphony. I could see that being a branch that does follow, because like I said, at their award show, these movies don't win. They make up a lineup of 5, but as I mentioned, there's like 8 categories. Of course they're going to make a lineup of 5, but they never go with them for the winners. I know this is complete wishful thinking. It's not going to happen, but the Guild does recognize animated movies. Could we see an animated movie make the short list, maybe make it into a nomination? I don't think it will happen, but I think every so often we could see a short list mention.
If we don't see animated movies ever even in the conversation for actor, there has not been an animated performance that has been in the conversation for an acting prize since Eddie Murphy in the first Shrek movie in 2001. That's the last time that anyone in an animated role has been in consideration, except, but, now that I say this, it is being voted on by the casting branch, not by the actors. And the actors are the ones who have shown reluctance to ever nominate someone for an animated film. So maybe, just maybe, casting directors will be different. Also worth noting, the casting directors branch of the Academy is the smallest branch by far. There's just over 100 members in that. So having just over 100 members, granted, they could boost that number like crazy over the next 2 years, but just having over 100 members makes me think maybe we could get some really crazy picks in the first few years of this category as they're still expanding it.
But I think that moves us into the fun part of this, is trying to guess, hey, if this is an award this year, what would be our 5 nominees? Because there's 8 categories here. We have the BAFTA casting that has 5 nominees, and then we have SAG Ensemble. I know it's not the same people voting on it, but it still shows, hey, what cast do we really like from the actors, at least? So I think if you put all those things together, I think from your mention before, Oppenheimer makes it in regardless. It has these big name actors, and it also has people who you wouldn't really think of in these roles. Robert Downey Jr. getting a post-MCU big drama performance. There's an angle there. Cillian Murphy getting into the leading role. That seems pretty apparent here. It's nominated at the Guild. Probably is winning its respective category. Then we have Kills of the Flower Moon. Got the BAFTA nomination. It's
That'd
at
be
the
a great
Guild.
nomination.
Osage representation, Lily Gladstone, check marks across. After those two, I think it's when the category kind of becomes open for interpretation, where obviously this is a fake award. There's no real award this year. There's no right or wrong answers. So, but I'm going to put Barbie at 3. I know it missed BAFTA, but it got the Guild nomination.
BAFTA didn't care about them anyways, so.
Yeah, BAFTA didn't care, and then you can make the case like, hey, they had to cast for specific Barbie, specific candidates. Again, which one of those did Greta Gerwig pick? Did Margot Robbie pick? We don't really know. But there's
I'm cynical about this category. They would definitely nominate Barbie, and it would be a terrible nomination for casting because Greta Gerwig definitely did the heavy lifting on that. But it would be nominated anyways. It's too big to fail here. That or it would not make the short list, and everyone would be like, "What? Oh my god, huh?" So yeah, that it would go one of those two ways.
I put the holdovers at number 4. It got the BAFTA. It's at the Guild. I know I went to a Q&A with the producer who talked about, we just went to like a local play and we saw Dominic Sessa and we're like, oh yeah, he would be good. So it wasn't really like putting out a call and boom, he's there sort of thing. Giamatti, he's in
he went to the school.
Yeah, and then like Giamatti's in every Payne movie, but then there's Randolph, Divine Joy Randolph.
Divine Joy Randolph is an amazing pick.
I think part of this, I mean, you said this as a negative earlier. I think it could be seen as a negative, but also could be seen as a positive, is this also correlates with BAFTA. Usually there's 1 or 2 nominees that do win an acting award. BAFTA, as we saw last year, Elvis won an award. The year before that, West Side Story and King Richard. The year before that had Judas and the Black Messiah and Minari. And then in 2019, we had Joker and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood both winning awards. So, like, year after year, they're going to have at least one at BAFTA. So I would assume here with the Guild itself is going to promote at least one future acting winner, if not 2.
If you have really great casting, you're going to have really great performances because that's the job of a casting director. You find the people who are going to have the great performances. So, yeah, I think you're dead on with your list. And I assume number 5 is American Fiction, right? You're going to say American Fiction?
I was going to say American Fiction, but after the talk of maybe the Guild just doesn't care about international movies because they are the American Guild, BAFTA does like Anatomy of a Fall. I could see that getting in. It has Sandra Hüller giving her a moment to shine. It has a kid in it. It has casting for multiple different people that maybe, I mean, my knowledge of French cinema isn't very good, but at least when listening to Q&As aren't very prominent people. So there is an angle there. Plus, as we saw in nomination morning, Anatomy got everything it needed. Why would it miss casting as well?
Look, I would say if the holdovers is in, Anatomy's out. If Anatomy's in, the holdovers is out. They're going to take one kid performance, and they're going to leave the rest. So I would lean the holdovers instead of Anatomy of a Fall. And I would say I feel pretty strongly about American Fiction being here because, you know, that ensemble cast is great and there's such an emphasis on the ensemble, and especially with a lot of people getting shots that really haven't been given shots in the past. Jeffrey Wright, Tracy Ellis Ross, Sterling K. Brown, Erica Alexander. There's so many people in this cast. Is there any non-Best Picture nominees that we could see having a chance here? Because I would say Nyad.
You know, I would say Nyad too, but Nyad missed the Guild. It's just not there. I originally had Nyad here as a possible one, but it's not there. But you know what is there? Rustin. And I feel like if we're carrying over the BAFTA issue, where they really love one specific performance, Colm Domingo is perfect in that film, even if the movie as a whole has issues. Rustin, I could see easily be a nomination. But something I also thought of on our Discord earlier today when we were talking about this was original screenplay. We always have one solo nomination. Why couldn't casting have that? There's giant talk about Iron Claw, Zac Efron, the rest of the ensemble, how they pulled them out. This is something very different. Maybe the whole promo for that was the casting, but I wouldn't go there. I would go more with something like maybe an Air, maybe an All of Us Strangers sort of thing. BAFTA did give them a mention there, but again, All of Us Strangers missed the Guild. Air was there. Iron Claw was there. Both will probably win their respective awards. And then there's also Color Purple, where it did get the SAG nomination, but there was a lot of not positive buzz for that film leading into nomination morning, as well as stuff with the cast itself on the campaign trail, which maybe would turn some voters off from doing that vote. But
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think we will maybe ever see a solo nominee in casting, I would say a prerequisite for a casting nomination is that they are going to nominate one of those actors in another category. I just don't think it's going to be possible for any film to get a casting nomination if it doesn't have an acting nomination. I think they're going to go hand in hand, and I just don't see them being separable at all.
I could agree with that. However, in 2019, I would say Black Panther wins this award and would not get a acting nomination. And yeah, I think now that we've openly talked about this, I think I am leaning a little bit more with you, where I do see the flaws here. I am open to it, especially if this is a branch that's going to be, like I mentioned before, documentary feature, international feature, some of these guilds that do gatekeep a little bit. I know it's annoying for our prediction process, but it leads to cooler, more inspired nominations. So
yes.
Like, if we
That's
get
what I want to
here,
see.
This is a short list of 10. I would say 10, not 15. And we can get 10 films here, and maybe, sure, we have like one just solo movie. So like in a few years, when this award is eligible that year, Michael makes a short list. Fine, you have the great casting in the lead role. In the rest of the film, you have cast, but nothing really jumps out. I'm projecting. Obviously, no one's seen this movie. It hasn't even started filming yet. But the rest of the 9 are pretty inspired. I'm cool with it. And then if Michael gets in, it's going to win. But still, it's only one. It's not like 5, 6 of your short list are all these one actor, one actress showcases.
That would be my nightmare if that's what happens. If it's like every single nominee is just like, you perfectly cast one person in a biopic, I would be like, get rid of the just get rid of it. But I am so open to being proven wrong. I would love to be proven wrong. I want to know more about this. I want to learn more from casting directors. I want to hear what people actually do behind the scenes. That is going to be such an exciting thing over the next few years, just learning more about this category, because I'm sure this is going to be one of the most exciting things about the next few Oscar seasons. Thinking ahead to this is going to be great.
With all that being said, everyone out there, let us know your thoughts down below. Are you pro casting? Are you more concerned with this addition to the Oscars? Because, like I said at the beginning, I'm all for more categories being added. I would just kind of like to know, what are the parameters up front that they're searching for? Because going back to the conversation we had about stunts is, at least to me, I think that you should be rewarding dance choreography as well. So if it's just stunts, are you going to have people still awarding dance choreography, or is it just solely going to be fake punches and fake jumps and stuff like that? And then how are the lines crossed if the same thing goes over here to casting as well? Are you only awarding ensembles, only awarding the lead actors? Are you allowing voice performances, like something that, who knows, in a few years we're going to have a very cool animated movie that has just a perfect casting of their ensemble, but because it's animated, will they even consider it? That's all stuff we'll have to find out going forward.
But as always, thank you so much for watching. If you made it to the end of the video, please, 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 please drop a subscription. You clearly like what we have to say, so just stick around. You know, hang out with us. We're chill dudes. We're chill guys. But thank you so much for watching. My name is Matt.
My name's Dyl, and this is Fantasy Filmball.